Hey everybody, my name's Drew. Welcome back to the channel. This is Clean Cheap Shots. Well, the Common Collector hit 300 subscriptions and he has asked us to show some cards. Now, not in a month of Sundays that I think that I would be showing these crappy cards, but that's what he wanted. He wanted us to show trash cards. So here we go. So Robert, here's the first one. That's Jim Maloney with the Cincinnati Reds. I don't have a story for you, Robert. I know you wanted us to tell stories about each of these cards. I don't remember why this happened. I have no idea. I can tell you this is out of the very first pack of baseball cards that I ever got in 1970. I was 4 years old, and my mom would buy me a pack of baseball cards starting in 1970 at the IGA grocery store. But how this happened, I don't have the slightest idea. But as you can see, this old darling has had a pretty rough life. Here's the back of that card. What? I wish it's not like me to take a scissors and cut out a piece of card, but, old Jim Maloney I'm going to set him back here. He was a pretty good pitcher in his day. He was from Fresno, California. He was scouted as a shortstop, and he played for the Cincinnati Reds and the Angels. He was a two-time 20-game winner, but he ruptured his tendon in a toe. But for, 6 years, he was just a fantastic pitcher. He had 134 wins, a 3.19 ERA, 1,605 strikeouts, 1965 All-Star, 2 no-hitters, one in 1965 and the other one in 1969. And he is in the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame. So that's all I've got for you, Robert, on Mr. Maloney there. But I got a couple more cards. Here you go. Jay Johnstone with the White Sox, 1971 Topps card. And there you go on the back. But you can see this puppy here. It's pretty rough. And but Jay Johnstone was born in Connecticut, and he was a two-time World Series champion, 1978 with the Yankees and 1981 with the Dodgers. He was known as a clubhouse prankster. We'll come back to that in a minute, but he was also a color commentator for the Yankees and the Philadelphia Phillies. But I remember him as a prankster, not so much as a ball player. I just remember him pulling practical jokes all the time. A couple stories about him. He placed a soggy brownie in Steve Garvey's mitt. He would set cleats on fire, hot footing. You see that. Well, you used to see that quite often. I'm not sure if he's the one that started that. He cut the crotch out of Rick Sutcliffe's underwear. He locked Tommy Lasorda in his office and in his hotel room during spring training. I can just about imagine Tommy Lasorda going off on him. And he also replaced celebrity photos in Tommy Lasorda's office with himself, Jerry Royce, and Dan Stanhouse. He once dressed up, I remember this, he once dressed up as Tommy Lasorda. He put some padding, of course, underneath his jersey, ran out to the mound to talk to a pitcher, and he carried Lasorda's book and a can of Slim Fast. He was good for the game. Steve Owens, and I think, these came out of Wonder Bread. I would get these from my grandma. She would have the Wonder Bread, and I'd dig inside the loaf and pull out the cards. But he was a running back with the Lions. I remember him with the Oklahoma Sooners as well. And I can tell you why this card's all beat up. And that's because he played for the Oklahoma Sooners. So every time Nebraska, where I'm from, and Oklahoma played, it was an epic game. And I'd get this card out so that I could toss it against the wall or throw it across the room whenever Oklahoma scored. That's what I did as a kid. Now, I should have mentioned, because this is going to be important in a little bit, but I have not opened up this box of cards in 25 years. So I didn't even remember what was in it. I was searching hard to try to find some cards that were really beat up for this VR for Robert over at Common and Collector. And so I'll get to that again in a minute, but I had Rick Monday in it, and I did an episode with Rick Monday, my College World Series video about him saving the day and grabbing the flag that was at Dodger Stadium where two dinglings were going to set it on fire in protest. But if you're interested in that video and that in Rick Monday saving the flag, that's again in my College World Series video. But I think I'd put tape on the back of that, and of course it got pretty chewed up. So that's Rick Monday, and I should also mention he was the first player ever drafted in Major League Baseball, and that was with the Oakland Athletics. And the last card, again, I'm going to tell you, 25 years, I hadn't opened up this box, and this one was in it. Eddie Watt. And I'll tell you in a moment, for those that don't know why that's important to me, but here's a piece of tape up there. I had this taped on my mirror for whatever reason, a mirror in my bedroom. And so on the back, you can see Scotch tape took off the back surface there. It says Eddie Watt. I can't read the very beginning very well, but he was a bullpen player. Eddie Watt, outstanding right-hander, relief specialist for the Orioles, a native of Iowa. Eddie joined the Orioles in 1966 and had been the ace of their bullpen for 8 seasons. Eddie specializes in his ability to enter the game in crucial situations, often with the tying or go-ahead run on base and get the batter to hit the ball on the ground to an infielder. So 25 years later, I opened this up, and here's this Eddie Watt. Now, for those that don't know, I had the great fortune of meeting Eddie Watt. He doesn't live too far from me here in Nebraska, and I got a chance to interview him, and I split it up into 4 episodes. So, it's hard to believe that I actually had this card, and I remember putting it on my my mirror in my bedroom. So, cool stuff. So we'll put that over there. And I've had a number of, at least a handful of people reach out and say, hey, show me more of your comic books. So I'll do that, I guess. 1974, The Invincible Iron Man. And this thing is trashed. 20 cents back then, number 67. He's fighting the Freak here. And as I said, this thing is in bad shape. Really bad shape. The pages inside, aren't the worst you've ever seen, but pretty rough copy. I think, if I remember right, this was the first comic book that I ever bought. And my dad would give me a quarter. I'd go down to the drugstore. My buddy and I, Roger, we would sit and look at every comic book in the rack for about an hour before deciding on which one we were going to spend our 20 to 25 cents on. And this was, as far as I can remember, my first one that I did. And you can see on the back here, it also served as scratch paper for my dad to do some math. So there you go. Iron Man. One more. The very first Spider-Man that I ever purchased was issue number 137. I was so captured by this art on the front. I just loved it. I remember seeing it in the drugstore and thinking, this is it. I got to have this one. So that's Aunt May, Mary Jane Watson, and Flash Thompson. They were all kidnapped by the Green Goblin, who in this particular issue was not Norman Osborn. It was actually his best friend, Harry Osborn, who had flipped out. So there's the back. Here's a closer look at those comic books. You can see just how badly they are beat up. But I hung on to them. They meant an awful lot to me. I read that Spider-Man more than any other comic book I've ever owned. Probably read it 50 times as a kid. So, Robert, congratulations on 300 subscriptions. That's fantastic. I wish you continued success on your YouTube channel. Thank you for putting this together. I guess I probably should apologize to Eddie Watt for treating his cards so poorly. Apologize to Rick Monday for treating his cards so poorly. I will not apologize to Steve Owens because he played for the Oklahoma Sooners, our bitter rival. Apologies to Jay Johnstone. And my goodness, Jim Maloney. Sorry about that. That's all I got for you guys. Keep growing your collection, card farmers. Thanks for tuning in.